What's up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's XCN time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about XCN. We're going to be discussing what we're seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for XCN over the coming days and weeks, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video. We're going to start off with XCN on the shorter term, and of course after that we're going to dive into those 2025 targets. We are on the 4-hour chart right now, and as you guys can see over the past few days, so basically since the 19th of September, we have just been in a sort of general downtrend. Now we saw an exception there, we saw a bit of a pump over the past day, but we have completely retraced as with the rest of the market. So you can see in the top right that the majority of coins are down today in the red, but what you'll notice is that XCN is still holding its value pretty well when you consider this market downturn that we are seeing. So for example, if we go back to the start of September, we are actually still up from that point. And that's interesting because when you look at other tokens that are bigger than XCN, so ones with larger market caps like Solana, for example, you can see that XCN is down 2%, but Solana is down 4% as well, and it's lost more value than what it was worth at the start of September. So we can see that XCN relative to other tokens is holding up pretty well, and a reason for that may be because that we are seeing a big announcement coming out in 5 days time. Now of course, if you don't know, we've got this countdown timer to look forward to. Of course, this is for Goliath, which is the project that they have been working on for some time now. This is a layer 1 blockchain which aims to be fast, cheap and secure. Of course, it wants to be a rival to other blockchains like XLM, HBAR, XRP and so on. And in 5 days time, maybe we get a glimpse of the testnet version of this Goliath, where we see how the performance of it is and if it lives up to expectations. Now of course, if it is a good outcome, that's going to be very bullish for XCN indeed. But in any which case, in 5 days time, we are going to be finding out something, or potentially sooner, as it says down here. So we've got that to look forward to. On top of that as well, we have had an update to the website and the Onyxcoin app. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but now the website looks something like this. It's a similar kind of color scheme, but it just looks so much sleeker. And of course, the Onyxcoin app, where you can go stake your Onyx coin, actually looks a million times better. Of course, if you were here before this update, you'll remember that other interface was just a bit plain and a little bit boring, and honestly wasn't up to scratch with the ambitions that the XCN team have. But this monochrome effect here on the Onyxcoin app also looks a million times better. And of course, in the bottom here, we're getting a little bit of a teaser as to what's to come. You can see we've got 3 grayed out tabs. We've got one for cards, so potentially they're bringing out a new Visa or MasterCard card coming out. We've got payments here, and we've got enterprise. So hopefully, maybe it ties into the fact that in 5 days time we're getting something. So maybe we find out about those in 5 days time as well. So plenty to look forward to here for XCN, in my opinion, in the shorter term. Maybe, like I say, that is why the value of XCN is holding up better than plenty of other cryptos in the top right. But for the charts here on XCN, what we are really looking for in terms of where the prices could go to in the shorter term stems from the fact that we've got this triangle pattern here on the XCN chart. So we've got something that looks a little bit like this. And of course, in terms of resistance, one of the main resistances that we're seeing here on XCN looks a little bit like this. So right now, as you guys can see, we are much closer to the support than we are to this upper resistance. On top of that as well, we have this as a potential real short-term target, which sits at about 0.013. And of course, this has been a strong resistance and support for XCN. So essentially, we have this as our first target in the shorter term. If we get some bullish news coming out over the next few days, we could see something like this here on XCN, where the prices first reach up to the 0.013 area. Now, of course, if we can break past that, the next natural target is this upper resistance here, and that sits at the moment at about 0.016. So these two are our short-term targets for the coming days and weeks if we are bullish here on XCN. Now, of course, if we do see that Goliath news come out and it really sends the market upwards past 0.016, we could potentially see a breakout to the upside from this triangle pattern. So something like this, for example, where the price is jet above this 0.016 area, could mean that we've seen a breakout from this triangle pattern. So if I just get rid of this middle trend line here, and so it doesn't look so confusing, we have this triangle pattern that's been forming for the past 6 months. And if that news is enough to push it above, we could see this as our price target. So it's just the first test of support to the first test of resistance, the distance between them. If we drag this measuring tool to wherever we could see that breakout, let's just say that happens on the start of October, we could be looking at a decent price target here on XCN of 0.056. Now, again, the condition for this is if we break out to the upside of this 0.016 area. Now, of course, at the moment with the bearishness that we are seeing in the markets, you might be thinking to yourself, what are the chances that we see a massive pump like this in the next few days, weeks, or even months? But just remember, things can happen very, very quickly. And if you are feeling a little bit down, just remember as to what happened here back in the start of 2025. If you were around at that time, you would have remembered that XCN for a really long time, so basically throughout the whole of 2024, did nothing. We saw a little bit of a pump after Trump got elected. Again, a bit more consolidation. And then all of a sudden, just seemingly out of nowhere, it wasn't a news release or some new feature or partnership that they announced. Just seemingly out of nowhere, we saw this massive pump here on XCN, which was about 20x when you measure it from the bottom to the top. So these things can happen suddenly and they can happen very fast. And as you guys can see, a pump like this could erase months on months of downtrends. So all we have to do at this point is just be patient. I do think that at some point in 2025, we are going to see a massive pump to the upside. Just as to when is the golden question. So of course, that is the bullish scenario here for XCN in the short term. Of course, if you guys want to get $10 completely free to buy some XCN before we see any potential pump, then don't forget to check out the MEX exchange. As you guys can see here on the screen, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $10 to get started. Now, of course, this exchange does not require KYC. The only thing you need to do to get that $10 is to deposit some fiat currency or crypto into your new account, and then this $10 is yours. So like I say, you can use it to buy some XCN, or you can also use it to long or short XCN with up to 20 times leverage using the futures exchange. Again, the link for this is in the description down below. Thank you guys for all of your support. Let's get back into this video. So of course, we've covered the bullish scenario here for XCN, but what happens if we see the prices continuing to fall? Now, a potential reason why we could see the prices fall here before rising on XCN is because of the fact that if we have a look at the MACD on the one-day chart, we can see that over the past 2 days, we have had a bearish crossover. So you can see the two lines here on the MACD have crossed over. You can see that these green bars have started to turn red, which implies that we are starting to see bearish momentum enter into XCN. So that would support a theory where prices head down instead of up. And of course, if we have a look on the 1 week, we've basically been in this bearish trend in very long-term momentum since March of 2025. So of course, not to be ignored. And if we see this bearish momentum continue, it could push prices here on XCN below this lower support line. Now, of course, if that were to happen, if we see an actual breakdown with a lot of bearish momentum, so we see something like this where we see a lot of red candles and prices jetting lower from this point, we could see a breakdown from this triangle pattern as well. Now, of course, I am just the messenger here for this triangle, but if that breakdown is to happen, then it would imply that we get a price target from this triangle of that distance between the first test and support, and instead of a bullish outcome, we would see an extremely bearish one. Now, of course, there's always that chance that these patterns don't complete, but like I say, if we do see a sharp breakdown, not something flat, by the way. So if we see something like this, then it kind of just invalidates everything altogether. We want to see a sharp breakdown. And if that were to happen, then that would imply that we're probably going down to this region. But honestly, I do think that if we do go down from here, this 0.007 region here on XCN is also going to be another strong support, because that's where the low of the price was back in April of 2025 before we saw this 4x pump. So those are my thoughts here for XCN in the shorter term. Of course, just to weigh everything, we are still bullish because of that potential news event coming in the 5 days, but the MACD paints a pretty bearish picture, and just look out for any breakdowns from this point. Of course, if we see large red candles over the coming days, that could indicate that we've seen a breakdown from that triangle pattern that I showed you. So that was the shorter term. Now for the 2025 targets here on XCN, and needless to say, I am still bullish for XCN. So whatever happens in the shorter term does not change my longer term outlook here for XCN. And in 2025, so for the end of this year, I do think that prices are able to go higher than the price targets that we saw from that triangle pattern. So essentially what I'm looking for here on XCN are price levels that lie along these Fibonacci levels, and the reason for that is because, as you can see, XCN really supports these Fib levels. So after we saw that pump at the start of 2025, you can see that the prices have respected these Fib levels as places of support and resistance. So essentially, if we do see prices make new highs in 2025, so let's say we see something like this, then we can expect the upper Fib levels to provide us with places where XCN might find some resistance. So essentially, if we see something like this, the next natural fib here, as you can see, is this 1.272 fib. We might see something like this where the price is kind of tested as a resistance. And of course, that lies at about 0.11. Now, if we can get above that level, the next natural fib is this 1.414 fib. Again, this might provide some sort of resistance here for XCN. And of course, that lies at 0.17. Now, this is important because it's also the previous all-time high for XCN. So this level, in my opinion, is a very strong price target for 2025. Not only is it the 1.414 fib, but it's also the previous all-time high, which makes it a naturally strong resistance. Now, if we are able to break new all-time highs here on XCN, then you can see that we've got this 1.618 fib, the golden fib ratio, arguably the most important one, telling us we could see 0.33. So these two here are my main targets for XCN in 2025. Of course, they are pretty ambitious, and for the best possible chance to get to these upper price targets, what we really want to see from the whole crypto market are these two indicators giving us figures close to 100. So both of them have to be close to 100 before we get an environment where XCN has the best possible chance of doing another pump like it did at the start of 2025. So right now, as you can see, by the altcoin season, we are fairly close to an altcoin season. We actually ticked into altcoin season over the past few weeks. That was because of the fact that alts like Solana were doing extremely well compared to Bitcoin. So we saw a lot of altcoins outperforming Bitcoin, and therefore this indicator went close to 100 over the past few weeks. But of course, the Fear and Greed Index still remains around the middle, which told us that we weren't in a true altcoin season. And right now, the Fear and Greed Index is at 39, which indicates fear. Now, first and foremost, buy the fear and sell the greed is the saying. So right now, if you're looking to get into crypto, I do think that right now is a decent time to be buying. Of course, when this number gets closer to 80, so of course, when this number gets closer to 100, above 80, we get extreme greed. That would be a decent time in general to be selling your holdings. So right now, the good news is that if you're discovering XCN and other cryptos, we are nowhere near that point just yet. So of course, when both of these get close to 100, that, like I say, is the environment where we see these 5x's, 10x's, 20x's, especially in smaller cap cryptos like XCN, happen the easiest. And so that's why we have these price targets waiting for us up here when we get that sort of environment. So of course, those are my thoughts here on XCN. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Of course, let me know down in the comment what your thoughts are from the new website and the new app that they have. Let me know as well if you've downloaded the XCN wallet on your phone, and if you've used it, let me know how that was. Of course, thank you guys so much for supporting this channel. Once again, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.